Welcome back. Now that we know how to decode a JSON payload, we should be able to get our portfolio information and our nav buttons. So let's go do that. So switching back to code, here's what we currently have. Now I have a choice here. I could, we could chain these commands. I could do one fetch, wait for the response, then do the next one, then wait for the response. But in this case, there's no harm in just saying, hey, try to fetch everything and basically update our model as the data comes back. That's a nice high performance workflow. So I'm going to do that. Not that this needs to be performant, but anyways, let's do that. So at the moment, when we start the whole ball of wax rolling, we just do this get main. Let's actually kick off 3 commands. Let's switch it to 2 first of all. In addition to get main, we want to do like get items. So let's just copy this. Start with this. Get main is and get items. So this is the HTTP command for getting multiple items. And I think it's portfolio-item. When we call that, we're getting all of the items. Looks good. Now it's not main received, it's going to be items received that we're going to call. And we're going to have an item decoder. Right. And lest we forget, when the whole thing starts, so I'll have to write these. When the whole thing starts, I want to kick off 2 commands. So cmd.batch allows us to actually pass I think an array. Yeah, that's right. An array of commands. So we want to do the get command, and we also want to do the get items. You know what? Why don't we just do all 3? I like that. And nav buttons. Nav buttons. And I think it's nav button. If memory serves, I'm going to flip back to Postman. Do I have one of these around? Nav button, yep. Okay. That looks about right. So might as well say we want to start all 3. Get nav buttons. Okay. Items received. Oh, this is going to be nav buttons received and nav button decoder. Should probably be nav buttons decoder. Nav items decoder. That works for me. Let's continue on. So it's going to be a lot like main received. Let's look at main received. Yes. So here's where we define our messages. So we got 2 new ones. One is items received, and the other one is nav buttons received. But they're not returning the main model. They're returning respectively the list of items. So throw this in parentheses. This will be a list of item model. And this should be a list of nav button. Did I call it nav button model? Nav button model. There we go. Looks pretty good. So those are the different messages that get passed around. Now let's build some decoders. And interestingly, okay, so let's actually build an item decoder, and a nav button decoder. But what I want to do is I want to get it to decode a list. So I'm going to say in parentheses that you have to decode a list of these. Okay, and it's reminding me, yeah, we have a little name conflict here, so I'll just say decode.list. That looks right. And same thing down here. Okay, that's pretty sweet. Okay, now we need to write our item decoder. It's going to be a lot like our main decoder, except we're going to decode an item. Let's see what an item looks like, and let's see what a nav button looks like. I'm just going to copy these down here to where we're doing our decoders. And I'm just going to comment these out. I guess I don't have to. I'll just get rid of them in a minute. So let's do our item decoder. And what's that? An item decoder is a decoder that will give us an item model. Item decoder equals, and of course we're just defining the success here. If something goes wrong, it automatically handles that. So it's going to be a lot like this. Yeah, what I was getting at is the idea of the decoder here is we basically define the success path. This is what success looks like. If anything goes wrong, if I can't find this required field, an error will happen, which is good. That's what we want. So we know it's byline. Oh, perfect. Byline image URL title. That's exactly what we wanted. So I'll get rid of that. And the nav button decoder is going to be similar. So this is nav button decoder, nav button decoder. It's not the item model, it's the nav button model. And interestingly, this is something I really love. It's noticing that, it's noticing problems. It's like, hey, it's not a main model. You haven't given me enough parameters to decode a main model, and that's because it's supposed to be the item model. Similarly for nav button model, well, that's this. And we've actually passed in too many parameters, so we get an error here. I think that's just awesome. Let's get rid of this, because it's a nice reminder. Then let's see, the names of these two parameters were name and, was it URL? Maybe. I'm going to go to the top and just, I went too far, so to speak. Name and URL, that's correct. Okay, so those decoders look good. Now we have to update our update. All right. So we need to basically handle all cases. So what's the next case? The next case is if we have items received. And yeah, that sounds good. Result. So results going to be could be success or failure. So we need to say case result of, and there's the OK case, OK. And if OK is called, that means that we got items back. So I think it was called items. Okay, so what are we going to return? Well, it's a tuple. It's going to be the model and the command. So in this case, we're going to take our existing model, whatever it is, and we're going to update the items section. And we're going to say the items section is now items. And the command is command none. Okay, now it might be complaining because I used the word items here twice. Oh, no, it's complaining because I haven't defined the nav stuff yet. Nav button received, result. You know what, it's going to be just like the one above, so let's just grab that, make a little change. nav buttons, nav button received, nav buttons received, yes. Okay, let's hover over. Oh, I didn't do the error branch. Should have read my errors a little more closely. It's all good. And now I will say this is kind of, yeah, we're basically ignoring errors. If an error happens, just ignore it and just return the model as is. Of course, in a production situation, you may want to do something different than that, but that'll work for us. Okay, let's do a nice little format on the whole thing. Looks pretty good. I don't see any ugly red error messages, so let's try to compile this. Compiles, and let's go over here. So what we're expecting is the full page. In terms of what we're going to see in the network tab, it's going to be the usual stuff, but now we're going to do 3 data fetches, assuming that I think, you know what, did I do all 3 data fetches correctly? That's good. Yeah, I think I did. Portfolio item nav button. That looks right. Hey, if it isn't right, we'll find out. 1, 2, 3. Wow, not bad. We seem to have our buttons here. We seem to have our portfolio down here. Very nice. Okay, well, we've got a fully working, totally data-based portfolio page. We probably don't need that loading bit. We could just leave it blank, or not. It's up to us. All right, so that's basically the main part of this portfolio application. There's still a bit to do, so I hope you join me in the next one. Thank you.